I'm Natasha Williams and I'm the business owner of Natasha Williams Signature Wines, and I have two wines in my range. It's called the Lelie van Saron and the Jade range. Okay. Be good to me, be good to me. Okay. So the lyrics that I pulled is snow is softly falling, lights are turning on like a fairy tale come true. It's Winter Things by Ariana Grande. Definitely fitting to the theme and to red wine and wine in winter. For me, snow is softly falling. I think it speaks to my winemaking philosophy, to be honest. It's never in your face, but it's to have a bit more of a minimalistic approach and kind of allow the wine to develop and show over time. So there's that elegance to that. Lights are turning on like fairy tale coming true. For me, what sticks more is the fairy tale come true. For me, that making my own wine and starting my own business in 2017 was definitely a dream come true. So for me, that's quite fitting. Well, winemaking was never on the cards for me as growing up in the Boland and even in the winelands. But I actually knew that I had an interest in winemaking only when I started studying at Stellenbosch University, to be honest. Well, I grew up in the Boland, in the Platteland, so very much a girl that, was on the back of the bakkie and going in the field with my dad, so I was always in touch with nature, and I definitely had a love for science. So when I went to varsity, soon realized that the two linked together very much made sense in winemaking and viticulture, and that's kind of how I ended up into winemaking. Well, I've been a winemaker since 2013. And that was my first harvest as an intern in Stellenbosch. So I graduated the same year in 2013 and then took on my first job as junior winemaker at the end of 2014. A moment that stands out for me, I think, would definitely be my first harvest. For me, at that stage it was 4 years in varsity, and I learned all these interesting facts. And walking into the cellar and getting my hands dirty for the first time, that for me was just a big aha moment, and for me it was testament that I was in the right place at the right time. Well, I think winemaking is definitely a specific craft, and it has to be for someone that do want to get their hands dirty. We do have those moments where we can dress up and we can tell all these beautiful stories and share that with the consumer, and I mean that is why we make wine. But there's a lot of intricate moments, that come to play, and a lot of fun can be had in the cellar. So I definitely think it's more suited for someone that's a bit more hands-on. The most important thing that I want to achieve with my wines, with Lelie van Saron and the Jade range, is to tell my story, to be honest. I've been privileged enough to make wine for other companies, and I've been doing that since 2014. But Lelie van Saron and Jade it's me. It's what has inspired me over my wine journey the past decade, and for me it is to showcase a bit more about what I find interesting, what makes me tick, and what I want to show people. So it's a bit more of a reflection of myself and what I want to make and what I want to share with people as well. I think to be a winemaker and also to start your own business is challenging, and there's a couple of moments that I can definitely name. But I think one thing that always almost takes me back to the start of the journey was when I had to come up with the name. As a winemaker, winemaking was definitely the easiest part, and my maiden vintage was in 2017, and the wine was at peace in barrel, and it was taken care of. And 2 years later, I found myself in the position where I now really need to start selling this wine. And I had this beautiful wine unlabeled in a bottle, and I had to come up with a name. And I played around probably for a year with different names and different ideas that speak to me, and how do you translate that back to the consumer. And I got very good advice from a sales manager and a friend at that stage. And she asked me, so what do you want to tell? What is the story that you want to share? And the only thing that I could say is that I want to share my story and what inspired me. So that's actually how the name came about, Lelie van Saron. I decided at that stage that I want to tell a bit more about myself and where I come from. So the name pays tribute to the town where I come from, where I grew up. So Lelie van Saron is an Afrikaans phrase, but it translates to, I sometimes find it easier to describe as Lily of the Valley. So Lily, or Lelie being the lily, and the valley being Saron, where I come from. And at that stage I was very at peace with the name, and I was very happy, and I think I made a lot of the elders in my town also proud. But I think the most challenging part for me was when I had this idea and I had the concept and I wanted to put that on the bottle, and I also got some stumble blocks doing that. So at that stage I learned actually how much it meant to me when I had to start fighting to get the name on the bottle. And it took me a few letters and a few debates, but it got Lelie van Saron on the bottle for eternity. My Lelie van Saron Syrah comes from a property in the Hemel-en-Aarde Valley. So this is a cool climate Syrah from Hermanus. So what is quite special about this vineyard is that it is about 4 kilometers from the Atlantic Ocean, and it's just under 200 meters above sea level. So you are finding a grape varietal that is more common for growing in Stellenbosch and Swartland, that has a tendency of being more in warmer climates that are now in a cool climate. And I find the big difference in wines from Hermanus, or the cool climate, versus the warmer side, is that we have a longer ripening period. So you find wines that are at a lower alcohol level, that is a bit more developed and a bit more complex, and you actually have a longer period for all that aromatics and flavor to develop over time. So my Lelie van Saron Syrah is what I call a clone selection. It's a barrel selection as well at the end, just before bottling. I started off making Chardonnay as my maiden vintage, and I knew I wanted to make a red wine as well. And I get the question a lot, so where's the Pinot Noir? You're making wines from the beautiful Hemel-en-Aarde Valley, which is known for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. But again, for me, the idea was to make wines that speak to me and that I think has a story to tell. And I ended up studying this particular vineyard for a year. So started in 2017, studied the vineyard for that year, and the first vintage of Lelie van Saron Syrah was produced in 2018. And this specific vineyard was a mixture of different clones. And what that offered to me was looking at the development of the different clones over the different growing seasons, and realizing that I can actually build a wine. I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to execute, and I could use the clones as being the building blocks for that wine that I want to do. So I ended up picking 3 out of the 7 clones that were in that particular block. One of the clones is specifically for whole bunch fermentation. So the stems are lignified, so it browns a bit earlier. So when I put that into the wine, you don't get any unripe flavor. And then the other 2 clones are for more smaller bunches, smaller berries, to build a bit more concentration and depth in the wine. And so that was the thought process behind picking those specific clones. I would say winemaking is about 50% science and 50% art. So when you smell the wine, you actually get more of fruit coming through, a bit of spice notes as well, and you don't really find any oak notes. You don't find that caramelized notes or that vanilla notes shouting. You're actually getting a bit more expression of the fruit itself. And for that reason, I use old oak. I want to showcase the terroir. I think it's such a beautiful story and such a privilege to show Syrah from the cool climate, that you want to show the clarity and the purity, and that's also my winemaking philosophy. I want to showcase exactly the fruit, and that's why I use older oak with this wine. I think what makes this wine stand out is that you have a small production of Lelie van Saron. It's about 8 barrels, and it is made from a single vineyard from Hemel-en-Aarde Valley. It is a vineyard growing about 4 kilometers from the ocean, and it is a rare opportunity to see a cool climate Syrah in its purest form, and I think that's actually what makes the wine stand out. I think as a winemaker, one of the most special moments that I've had is, someone taking a whiff of the wine and taking them back to a memory and a time and place, and saying that it reminds them of spending an afternoon with their grandpa because they could smell the tobacco in the wine. For me, it is about bringing people together, and for me it's about just enjoying life with the people that matters to you. So for me, I pick up definitely some black currants, some darker fruit notes, even a bit of cherry currants as well, and as soft pepper notes, a bit of cumin, and a touch of leather and tobacco there at the back. On the entry, for me, the wine is quite fresh. You get that beautiful salivating effect of the acidity on your palate, and beautiful red fruit that lingers, giving you a beautiful finish. In winter, I would definitely say that the Lelie van Saron Syrah would pair beautiful with a tomato bred. A stew would be beautiful, and even if you find yourself having a light lunch, a pizza will also do well with this. So when I started my business in 2017, I definitely wanted to focus on a premium execution of Chardonnay and Syrah. So in the Lelie van Saron range, you will find 2 wines. Those are single vineyard wines and barrel selection, and smaller quantities as well. And then in 2021, I actually started a new range, and which is referred to as the Jade range. It is this beautiful girl skipping on the label, and this also currently consists of 2 wines. It is a sparkling wine, which is also Chardonnay based, and the Jade Red, which we have here today, is a Syrah based blend. Well, I've been busy with Lelie van Saron since 2017, and I've started making the wines, and I've seen how the vineyards develop over time. And I've come to the realization that, over time I might want to work with different vineyards. So I need a platform where I can experiment a bit more, and, just that playfulness in me. And as a winemaker, I always want to have something interesting and fun. And the Jade range allows me to do that. If I find something that is interesting, a new wine style, like for example the Method Ancestral, which is a sparkling wine, to do something like that and give it, have it a platform for that as well. So the skipping girl, I think, refers to the young one in all of us, and for me it definitely showcased the wine in an image as just being a bit more playful, and that's actually little Jade as well. This vintage is also from Hemel-en-Aarde Valley, but over time this will actually become more of a Cape Coast wine, which means it will have components from the Hemel-en-Aarde Valley or from the cool climates, which most likely will be the Syrah. And currently I have Petit Syrah in as well, and over time that will be actually from the warmer climate such as the Swartland that will be incorporated. This is definitely a wine that you can drink now, and I make my wines that way as well. I want people, when they purchase the wine, to have the opportunity to open it up and enjoy it. But it allows, the wines are made also to last longer. So there is ageability in the wine, and I think that is also the fun with playing with different components and having those building blocks such as the Syrah from the cool climate, that you have this higher acidity that allow the wine to age over time. So the winemaking of Jade, what stands out here, I think, is the fun part is the blending part. Yes, with the Lelie van Saron, we blend barrels and it's a barrel selection, but here the blending actually starts already in the vineyard. The Jade Red is a blend of Syrah, which is from Hemel-en-Aarde Valley. And for the 2022 vintage, there's also Petit Syrah from the Hemel-en-Aarde Valley. And the reason why I used Petit Syrah is, again, it was a vineyard that I passed every second week when I went to visit some vineyards. And it's not the easiest place to farm, but the grapes just looked in prime condition. So for me, it was quite interesting to see something different grow in the area. For that reason, I actually took the grapes in and I vinified it separately. So the Syrah also came in at a different time. It was vinified separately as well, and both components went to the barrel. And at the end, you know, to be honest, I loved how it sounded, Syrah, Petit Syrah. So I started playing around with small trial blends, and I started blending the two components together, and I actually saw the harmony that happened. You know, it says that beautiful clarity and fruit from the Syrah, and then the Petit Syrah brings a bit more of a core and structure, but a lot more spice notes and spice driven notes that come through as well. And over time, as I work with the Petit Syrah again, I've realized to maybe how I wanted to showcase in the bottle, that I need to maybe pick it a bit earlier in the vineyard as well. So it is blending from the grapes to the bottle at the end of the day. So for me, this is the Jade Red 2022. So a bit more of a purple fruit, purple notes that are coming through, a bit of mulberries, even a bit more fresh plums and prunes. And I would say the spice notes that I get is a bit different to what you would find on the Lelie van Saron Syrah. It's a bit more of a fennel and licorice note there at the back. And again, a zesty, vibrant palate. It is something that you can have beautiful now in the winter with a lovely meal, or even in a warm summer day have it chilled as well. But I'm a lover for pasta, so I would say this is definitely a winter snack that I would love with this as a nice pasta. Well, what is next for Natasha Williams and Signature Wines is that I would really like to have a place called home for my brands. So I currently source my grapes, and I have a beautiful relationship with the farmers that I work with, and I get premium quality grapes from them. But at the end of the day, I want some place that I can call my own, and a home of Lelie van Saron where I start growing my own grapes. So I think the long-term vision is to have that in a couple of years. Yes, we will plant some grapes in Saron. Cheers!